podcast, Seeing Psychology Help Your Trading. Today, Sara The Perceptive Trader joins me for this very important discussion. I also want to welcome everybody that's watching on Twitter now. We just started streaming on Twitter. Hopefully this went out to my Twitter and Sara's Twitter. And hopefully we could be able to see you guys and interact with you throughout the conversation. So this is the first time I'm streaming Futures Radio Show live on Twitter, also, of course, on YouTube. Today's podcast is sponsored by TradeStation and FTSE Russell. Currently, TradeStation is running a promo just for the Futures Radio Show audience. If you're a new user to TradeStation, you're going to get 50% off your brokerage fees for the lifetime of their account using the promo code FUTRAFZT. That's down below in the chat area. You just have to go to tradestation.com/Anthony to learn more. Did you know that with an 81% share and 1.6 trillion in institutional assets benchmarked, the Russell 2000 is the top choice by far among institutional investors? CME Group has selected the Russell 2000 index for new event-based contracts launched on September 19. Some of you may have heard me talk about some of these event-based contracts in the past. And these are daily options on futures contracts, which offer short-term trading opportunities for investors seeking to take a position on the Russell 2000 futures daily price moves. For more information, go to FTSERussell.com. So let me bring in Sara now. Sara, great to meet you. Hopefully this went live on Twitter. Did you see a tweet go out? I'm hoping that we're live on Twitter.
Yeah, I hope so. Hello, Anthony, and thank you
How
so
are you
much
doing?
for
Yeah,
the invitation.
I've been a fan of yours for a long time, so it's great to have you here. I'm actually checking to see. Yeah, we're on Twitter, so good. I've been a fan of
Yeah.
yours for a long time. One of the things that you really focus on is trading psychology, which I think really as of the last few years wasn't talked about really a lot. I mean, maybe a little bit longer than I know people like myself, maybe Tom Canfield and several others that really go out there and talk about this. But for traders, it's not something that is really talked about, I think, too much. And I'm curious, obviously I could tell you're a little you're younger than me, and you've actually been on top of this really early on in your career. Why is trading psychology such an important part of trading?
I mean, trading psychology, I used to say that we have a lot of edges, right? We have the technical edge, we have risk management is a big part, and it for itself, it's as well a big edge. But when it comes to the mental edge, if you don't have the mental edge on top of those, you can't work them out. So trading psychology is not only about, oh, I have to be disciplined, I have to be patient. And unfortunately, this is what most of the people, I think, they still have this idea, which is wrong. And I had it too, don't get me wrong. But as I got deep and deep in the topic and research and everything, because it's one of my passions, I understood that it's not only about discipline and I need to be patient. So I think more and more awareness are coming to the importance of trading psychology, but traders have acknowledged more when it comes to the how to apply this importance in their trading. I think it's more to that side. They know um, it, it has importance, but when it comes to making the routines around, well, the process, making the routines around this importance is it's quite more difficult for them, I believe.
Yeah, and obviously today, because it's such a busy day, so thank you to anybody who's tuning in. I know how wild these markets have been, just a crazy CPI morning. I was trading it a little bit, and one thing that I think is such an important part of when you get into an important number like a CPI. Obviously, it has a lot of relevance to the market right now because the way the market's moving and everything to do with the Fed. And I know you and I are not macro people. That's not what we're here to talk about. But coming into a CPI number, what do you believe is, I don't want to say the right trading psychology, but what do you do psychologically to get yourself prepared for a big number like this?
Well, I think that has as well to do a little bit more about the strategy part, the technical part. For my strategy, for myself, as I told you, I don't care so much about the content of the new, but the time of the new release. So that's very important. And yeah, if you know that that's important, a new gonna come out, it's obviously very important to have the psychology on check. I mean, you have to know how to handle such a big or such a number. And when it comes to the news, I always say to the traders, try to not trade on the news itself. Maybe a little bit before or after, but not in the news itself. You don't know where the market might head, and yeah, I think it's important to do this distinction.
Yeah, I think that one of the things is when you get ready for a number like today, like this morning, I put a tweet out and I said, and we'll see what you think about this. I said, it's not about your levels. Your levels don't matter. It's the reaction to your levels. And a lot
I
of
saw your
people
tweet.
will see, right? The people will start to see the market move based upon CPI, right? But CPI, right after the number moves, it's like the market's already looking forward. So you have to look at, I don't look at the numbers as an important, my levels as an important level. I look at it as, does the market think it's important, especially when you have this kind of volatility? So psychologically, I'm wrapping my head around, listen, Anthony, just because you have a level there, that doesn't mean it's going to work. Wait to see how it reacts.
Exactly. That's a very important part. And thinking in terms of what other market participants might do towards this new, it's also a big edge in itself for us. We always have to be thinking, what will this represent in the mind of the other participants, um, and play as well a little bit along with that. Now, yeah, for me, I was looking for buys on today on GU and on EU, and actually EU, well, for shorts on EU, Euro USD for the ones who are not familiar with, and the market quickly went back up. It was incredible, and yeah, it stopped me out. It's normal on GU. I'm keeping those longs, but yeah, it's a decision. I think if you want to trade on the news, there's always risk involved on the news itself. Um, it's a decision of each trader.
Yeah, actually, I want to pull up a poll here that we did the other day, and I think this is kind of a fun time just to talk about this because this is something I think that I put this poll on Twitter late last night, and as I was sitting back, and I'm like, I just wonder how many people even think of this. And when we pull this up right here,
Oh
so
yeah,
the poll last night I put in was, do you think that trading psychology helps your trading? 85% of the people do, 15% don't. And that 15% probably is just at a phase in their career, or they're where they don't really, they haven't gotten to the point of believing that yet, and or they're maybe just systematic, because I think that it's not necessarily trading psychology does not matter if you're a systematic trader, right? And you're just following a system, or if you're like an algorithm or something, that you created your own algo. That of course that doesn't matter. But I thought that was pretty interesting coming from my audience that 85% of the people believe that. But I think that probably 85% of that 85% probably don't do much to get better or to use it, do something to get better at it.
yeah,
Now, what are some of the things that you've learned that you have to put into place that actually help you as a trader get better because of trading psychology?
yeah. That's a good question. So first years that I started, I was focusing myself on strategy. It's nothing new. All the traders, all the beginners, I think they do this, focusing too much on technical analysis, covering it all, so everything gets more predictable and more certain. And so I was giving a lot of focus to the technical part. And it's normal that beginners have this belief. Now, with the years, is that I started to understand that the psychology it's the most important part, and it is a business, but most of all it's a performance skill. It's something that is not stuck. And I think this is the point that a lot of traders miss, which is they think this is something that it's not achieved, like very unachievable. But it's about practice, and not only practice, data collection, analysis of this data, and then the improvements and adjustments according to the analysis of the data. So it's like a circle that goes around, and it never ends. And Then based on this preparation, on these improvements, we want to start a new practice. And this needs to happen, I think, every day. And for this, I think it's very hard to take feedback out of trading, right? So we have to have a way, a process in place to suck this feedback out of trading, right? And one of the ways is journaling every day, and not only about the technical part, but the performance part, psychology part, and everything. And then at the end of the day, maybe coming back to your to what you did, to your trades, and taking even more feedback out of those trades and out of your performance. And it's all about having this feedback. We need to feel in control. And the way we have to feel in control, it's not by controlling the results of or the market. No, we have to get new ways. And these new ways is taking this feedback we need from our performance. And with that, we can improve day after day. We don't need to go from 1 to 100, but maybe from 1 to 2 every single day. And so when we gather this feedback and we journal and we analyze it every single day, or every single week even, you're gonna have a parabolic improvement of performance versus the trader that only practices, only trades live. He shows up every day, but he's not really collecting data. He's not really analyzing it or preparing nothing according to that. So it's a big difference. And yeah, this is something I think that it needs to be acknowledged by all the traders. It's a performance skill. And then other practices, as you were asking me about having a better performance, right? I believe that you must reach the zone, right? Trading in the zone. You must be able to reach the zone as fast as you can. And this is reached, I believe, easier with your pre-trading routine and with the things you do as well outside of trading. So it's not only about the trading session itself, it's about your whole life. We can't separate really our brain into two and say to ourselves, okay, this is our daily life and this is trading, and I'm a person in my daily life, but an hour after trading and I have to change it all. No, we have to acknowledge that it's all one, and that if we improve our daily lives, if we, for example, find mindfulness in our daily lives, it gets easier to transpose those habits to our trading, much easier. So, and it gets, if you practice mindfulness, it gets easier to reach the zone for you. And this is very important.
Yeah, I agree with you. The zone aspect is so important because you could have the best strategy in the world, but if you're in a bad mental place, you're not going to execute it very well. I'm probably the perfect example of that in my life. I mean, there's times where my strategy has been perfect and I look at it and I'm like, I'm losing money. I'm just trading terrible. I think most people can relate to that, right? I mean, there are just times where that is just the case. But how do people get to the point of actually implementing trading psychology into their trading? Because I think that when you first get into trading, obviously the first thing you have to do is you have to kind of figure out what market you're trading, what style. You have to develop some skills, right? Because otherwise, if you're journaling, at that point, you kind of just don't even know who you are as a trader yet. So I guess the question I would ask you is, if you were to just timeline it for a trader that's just coming into the business or is in the business right now who doesn't know how to implement trading psychology, what are the steps to the point where you actually get to where it actually starts having that impact?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And for the traders I coach, we always start with the detective work, which is collecting data about your performance flaws or emotional flaws, like your thoughts, your emotions while trading, before, during, and while you're trading on each trade, collecting as much feedback and data as you can. And then when we have that in place, we really want to understand what's behind those performance flaws. So I'm a big apologist, and I think this is really the only way to work with effectively with the problem is you need to understand the cause. And so that's the starting point of all. And it's interesting because the cause always comes from the past. And so subconscious barriers that we have from our childhood, from our teenage years, it comes from there. And it's we arrive to trading and everything gets revealed and it's insane. And we think, oh, this is because of trading. I have this bad performance because of trading, but it really isn't. It's just revealing it in like crystal water. And so the first step is really collecting this data, understanding from where the problem comes, and from there on, developing side by side with the performance skill, developing a plan of action to release this pain of the past, maybe, and fine tune between these subconscious barriers or these past and your trading, because sometimes it's difficult to solve these subconscious barriers, and it's possible, for example, to be profitable for a long time without solving them, but it gets you only so far for a long time, quote unquote. So it's very important to aim to solve these subconscious barriers, not trying to be perfect, like, okay, I'm gonna solve it from today and tomorrow I'm gonna already be having a great performance, but solving it step by step. And there's a method for each trader, really, I believe, because we all make the same mistakes, but in fact we are different people. So those mistakes come from different reasons, from different causes, different pasts, and it's really trying to understand this behind the scenes to then adjust a solution for each trader.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an individual situation. And I think that I still go back to, I want to kind of just timeline this out to everybody because I think this is an important aspect of how it actually gets in and does it. If you were to say the first step, new trader today, or a trader that's just beginning their career, has already been trading a little bit, what is the first thing that they have to do um, to get really in control of their trading? Is it the strategy? Is it the trading psychology? What is the first thing that they have to do?
Well, I believe that the first thing is really strategy building, and you don't need to build from scratch your own strategy. You can simply find your mentor, get his own strategy or own strategy, but then the real process becomes adapting this strategy to yourself. And this is where psychology comes in. So many traders think, okay, I'm gonna buy this course and I'm gonna have the strategy, that's all I need. But the adaptation part to your own person, to your personality, and becoming confident with the strategy, it's a very long process. And so here's the trap that traders don't see. They jump around from strategy to strategy, but the key is really in the adaptation process to their own person as traders. Um, so yeah, I forgot the question. Is the first thing?
The first step. So it's strategy building, right? So
Yeah, I would
it's
say.
important. Yeah. So they pick the strategy first that they want, and like you said, it's not important to have the perfect strategy. I think that this is also a misconception, right? Because I can tell you that there are certain strategies that may have a better win rate than I have on my strategy, but that strategy just may not work for me because visually it just doesn't work for me, right? Some things just don't work. And for me, is the way I look at the market.
That's the thing.
Right,
Yeah.
it's so important. So I think the first part of that is like, okay, look at the market, pick a market you like. I mean, like what markets you're trading a lot of forex, right? Like why do you
Yeah, that's
trading
the
forex?
currency market.
So why do you trade forex? Why is that the market
Well,
that
I must say that I trade forex because basically I knew people and I had friends that would trade that, and I saw them like making money and stuff. So this was the first impression I have of the markets, financial markets. But I've been in other markets like options, stocks, but I always add these little. I wanted the forex market, and then my mentor was for the forex market. I chose it, so it all started to grow since my first mentor. Yes.
Got it. So you were introduced to it, and when you first were introduced to it, when you looked at the forex market, let's take the money part out of it. Did it resonate with you? Did you look at those markets and say like, "Oh, I understand all of these different markets"?
You know what fascinated me was the behind the scenes once again. And I would look at patterns and certain types of analyzing the market, technical analysis. And it would always intrigued me like, okay, I have my strategy, but other trader has their own strategy. And I was always looking for the right thing until I came to the realization that there is no right thing. There are numbers that work. My strategy might have a low win rate, but if it has a high risk to reward, if the numbers, if the statistics, if they work, then we have an edge. And for other traders, it might be different. Their numbers just need to work, and there is no right or wrong strategy. And this is as well, I mean, a big misconception in the trading world is looking for the best way of analyzing, and it's supply and demand and it's support and resistance. It doesn't matter. As
Mhm.
long as it works for you, nobody can judge your strategy. Just the only judger of your strategy is your trading journal, and you are the only person who knows about it. So if it works for you and if it fits your personality, that's also a very important aspect. Because, for example, I was a I wanted to be a swing trader because precisely my friends were, and I thought this is the way to go. And I wanted to hold positions for like days, weeks, maybe months. But I wasted my time on this. And I don't like to use the word wasting because it kind of everything leads to one point. But I wasted basically one year of my trading trying to make swing trading work. And it didn't, because I had this anxiety and this impatience, and I would tell to myself, I need to be more patient. I need this, I need that. It's me who is wrong. But when I started to implement the strategy that I have, 2-day trading, then I started to feel more comfortable. And I mean, everything just made sense for me. So it's so important that you know the person you are. Like, for example, if you are an energetic person, if you are a fast decision maker, maybe it doesn't make sense for you to hold positions during weeks and months. Maybe you're more like a scalper type. Now, if you are a very patient, a very you stick with your decisions for too long, maybe you're the type of person who gonna want to hold positions for that long. Now we gotta know ourselves, and I think that really only happens for some people when they get into trading. They start to find and discover so many things, and it's overwhelming. And we need to test it out. We need to adjust. I mean, you just need to find what's best for you, and sometimes that's not the first thing we do. That's not with the first market. That's not with the first strategy, with the first trading style. It takes a lot of trial and error, and we have to be also open for that in the beginning, because once we got it all figured it out, strategy side, then it's performance and mind.
So you
So
figure out your strategy, you start to figure out who you are. Then you get to the point, I think, of obviously where you can do some serious journaling where it actually does help you. Because I think one of the things about journaling is just like with everything else in trading, it doesn't, there's no exact right way to do it. I personally don't believe that.
no,
Like, I'm somebody who uses pen and paper, so when I look at things, I write things down, I go back and look at stuff. And that's just how I remember things. That's how I get better at things, is purely by writing something down in a note. It's not that I have to go back and review it, but the fact that I actually took the time to write something down at this phase of my career, it actually helps me just be like, listen, that's important not to do or to do. So it almost just resonates, and it becomes a part of an instinct for me the next time around. What do you think is the best way somebody goes about journaling
journaling.
their trading? Yeah.
I mean, I think the basis must be there. We need to collect data. We need to do it. But the process through which we do it It's really up to each one of us. So, for example, for me and you, because I resonate with you, I like to pen and paper, simple, and a lot of the things I write about the markets, my trading, myself, are in a notebook. Now, other journals that I have, I'm not saying that I don't do them digitally. Like, of course, I have other journals digitally, but when it comes to um, free thinking and really releasing like my thoughts, the thing that helps me the most with creative thinking and writing my emotions and thoughts, it's manually with pen and paper. Now, let's say while you are trading, we need to journal. Let's say, like for example, the traders I work with, they have to fill out the before, during, and after, and while they trade of each trade. And for some, if they are scalpers, maybe it's not suitable for them to take time to write down. Maybe they might want to just do an audio voice or recording their session and speaking out loud what they are feeling. And so this way they have it recorded. They can go after watch it afterward. They can make their notes, and they can realize a lot about how they react. It's a very interesting exercise to do. And if you record also your face and the chart, and you see your reactions, what you do, seeing it afterward in a different emotional context, it's very interesting, and you're gonna realize of a lot. Yeah, and for other traders, they are more analytical. They like to keep everything digital, and yeah, I have. It has to do as well with if you're more right-brained or left-brained. I'm more right-brained, so I really like to keep these long texts. And when I start writing, if I need to put it out, I'm gonna write a lot. For other traders, it's really just one word. It really depends. It's about the process, but the data collection must be there.
Yeah, exactly right. It is just about that. And like you said, right brain, left brain. How are you looking at the market? Where do you need to work on? So for me, as a trader who's done a lot of journaling over the years, initially it was all stats, right? I was just like, okay, what's my performance? Then I got to the point where, okay, I'm understanding my performance enough to where I don't need any more stats on my strategy, because it was really more about how are you trading versus your strategy, right? Because I think when you're pulling stats, I think this is important to know that you're pulling stats because you want to see how you are executing your strategy versus what your strategy's performance should be, right? Because some strategies, if you look at if when you go back and look at them and you're like, well, I should have done this or I should have done that, my performance get better. And then you start to compare that. Are you a better executor of your strategy? And once you really get to know it, then you stretch it out and you start saying, okay, why am I making these bad decisions at these times? Why am I doing this? Why did I get full size here? Does that really make sense? For me, that was a common occurrence. I kept going in full size all the time, right? Because you're trying to make as much money as you can. It's just one of those things. I think that's where psychology starts to come in and help people, because you start to realize you're going, okay, before you click that button, you have something that you've put the time in and the work to decide if you should really be doing what you're about to do. You make the correction before you click. And I think that is why journaling and trading psychology is so
Yeah,
important, because you're
yeah,
making that decision in the moment now. You're not the person who said, well, you know what, I'll go back and fix it later, because that's not how trading works.
100%.
If you do that, eventually you're going to be out of money.
Yeah, and the thing is, the writing process. What's so special about it is, in opposition to the stats only, is that you're not only writing, you're not that information that you're writing. And I made a tweet the other day that was what you write, like the content you write. It doesn't even need to be useful. Like, oh, let me see what I got here. What were my thoughts and emotions? But the process itself of writing makes you alleviate and do a very important thing, which is put a distance between you and your thoughts and your emotions. And when you put a distance and you acknowledge that there's a space between you and your emotions, you no longer identify with them. And when you don't identify with them, you think, okay, this is transitory. This is happening to me right now, but this is not who I am. I can change it. And tomorrow I wake up in a good mood and it's all fine. Now, the key here is using this space between yourself and the emotions. But recognizing this space is the first thing, because we cannot be our emotions. This is not true, but it's difficult to put this in practice. It's very difficult because at the moment when you are angry, you see yourself as an angry person, and you can't put this space. You can't control yourself. And here comes a very important thing, which is body regulation. It's the first thing I think traders must do when they experience these hard emotions. It's regulating their body. The breathing, well, the breathing, if you can control your breathing, you can control your heartbeat, you can control the visceral response, if that makes sense, that's going on inside your body. And when you do that, you're controlling one part of the emotion, one element of the emotion. So when emotion has a lot of elements, one of them is your visceral response that signals your brain that something is happening and triggers that emotion. Now, if you take that away from the emotion, it's difficult for the emotion to survive. It's like you're taking the fuel away. So this is really, I think, the very first thing that traders must do, even before writing. Because if you're gonna write and you are like full of anger and frustration, you can't connect so much with your thoughts. It gets difficult to connect with your thoughts and emotions. But when you regulate your body and then you go write, there you have an accurate writing of what happened, and you can really easily access your mind awareness, basically. So
Yeah.
these two together, the breathing. Now there's a lot of breathing techniques. The breathing and the writing, it's a great combination.
Jingle's sending me a message saying I'm watching my NASDAQ positions. I have no positions on in this market today at all. I did earlier, got beat up this morning. I gave a little, got some of it back, and I kind of just hopped off. It was not the easiest trade this morning. I know a lot of people I know did really well, but what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go to Twitter now. And you put this tweet out the other day, and I thought this was really good, and this is something I wanted to discuss. And you put this tweet out. You said the only thing that you can predict in the market is your behavior. If you can't, then you lose the biggest edge of them all. Explain that.
Yeah. I mean, edge for itself is already recognizing that the only thing you can control in this market is yourself. If you think you can predict something more than that, then you need to come back to the root. You need to come back to the basics, because you have to take into consideration, everybody needs, right? The premise that the market is unpredictable. It only gets, and I don't like to use the word predictable, but it only gets more certain in a very, very big number of trades, with using the same strategy again and again. But what the market will do next, we can never predict it. It's always uncertain. And when we direct our focus from trying to control the market and predict it to, okay, I am the only thing that I can control. I only can control myself. As long as I play my strategy, and I perform well, I'm in peace. And if you can't do this, then you lose the only power you have, which is the power to control yourself, to manage your emotions, not to control them, but to manage them. This is really the only power we have as human beings for everything. But we want to predict stuff. We want to feel certain. Otherwise, we're gonna feel fear. And everybody thinks that fear is not a good emotion. It doesn't feel good. So when we feel fear, the defense mechanism is to, our brain is like working hard to try to find this certainty, to give us the answer. And the answer is really not removing fear from trading, because that never happens. It's just giving more importance to your performance to what you can control than what you cannot control. Because fear, it's something that can be reduced, but it's gonna be there. You're gonna be there in certain things, certain situations of the market gonna trigger, even with the highest successful traders. But it's about how you manage it, how you, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Yeah, I'm actually gonna, talk a little bit about what I think is for me, why I think fear is actually one of the most important tools I have as a trader. We're gonna take a 20-second break. We'll be right back.
Choices in your futures trading. Explore TradeStation's advanced trading platform, equipped with customizable tools, charting features, hundreds of futures products, and more. Plus, get 50% off brokerage fees when you open a new account. TradeStation.
So I quickly mentioned right before we took that quick break, and obviously I want to remind everybody, TradeStation's given all of our audience 50% off if you're a new user to the account. The link is in the chat. Click on that down below to learn more. You just go to tradestation.com/Anthony to get 50% off your brokerage fees. And for futures traders, that's a big thing. So definitely check that out. But why has fear been such a big part of my trading is because I had so many failures at the beginning that fear of going back to where I was when I was losing, the way I felt as a person, right? The pain I felt in my body, right? Just the disappointment in myself, the fear of going back to that point was such a motivator for me because, like you said, you never want to get rid of it because I hold that close to me. That is the reason why I don't make as many bad decisions now as I did then, because in the heat of the moments, like I will even go back to today, this morning, I see some people that I follow and I know they're, opening range, they're long. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at my chart and everything is telling me just really to be short, and took some shorts, got clipped, stopped fading it as much. All of a sudden saw the day was just changing. And the old me would have probably just really tried to really press shorts when I had some on that went my way just a little bit initially. I would have just gotten creamed. But that I go back to like the fear of just blowing this day, right? Of just going against something like that is what kept me from doing that. I mean, do you think that fear plays a role like that with people?
Well, I think that's a healthy fear.
Yeah.
And it's a healthy fear because it reminds you, it gives you a picture of what you were in the past, and you don't want to come back to it. So you think for yourself, I need to perform well. Well, you know that it's only by performing well that you're going to get there. You already arrived to that realization. So you know that if you don't, you might come back to what happened in the past or to the person you were in the past. And you fear that so much that the importance suddenly the fear that you feel in the market is nothing compared to the fear you feel of going back. Right? I don't know if this makes sense, but sorry, but yeah, the fear still there. It keeps you alert, and it keeps you conscious that I don't want to go back. And I have the same because I worked in a 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong to be a 9 to 5, but I hated my job. Like I truly, passionately hated my job, and I'm grateful for this hate because this is what fed my trading career. Really, I passed from having the plan B, which was trading, it passed to the plan A because I don't want to be in here for the rest of my life. I want to have control of my time, and I don't want to be stuck in this environment. I mean, it was just a really toxic environment for me, so it really fed my will to move things forward. So this type of fear of going back to where we were, it's important. It's very important because it reminds us that, okay, what we have right now is valuable. We got to this point. Now we have to move forward. Even if we fear to lose, if we fear to make mistakes in this market, nothing is compared to the pain that I experienced in the past.
Yeah, I'm actually going to show the chat here a little bit. It's kind of a new feature that we have. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to do that. I think we could pull it right. Does it show it? It's not showing it yet, but it should be. We'll figure that out. I thought that was a cool feature because we got a lot of people commenting on it. And a couple of things I will talk about is people are talking about, the approach to, well, actually, let me just step back before I get to the questions, because I will take your questions on here. I want to go back to hate because I didn't want to get away from that, because actually I thought it was something that you said was really important. How I use fear and how you used hate. People look at those things and say you want to remove those types of emotions from your trading. And I understand that, that does make sense. But those are the types of things that helps you become successful in trading, right? Some of those things you have to have in your body that happen in your life. Something happens to you with your job. You hated it and you wanted to do this. So that emotion is still part of you when you're trading. That never goes away because you don't want to go back to that. So it's not necessarily that you're carrying hate. And I think this is important, I think, for you maybe to discuss this, because that's kind of what I think some of the people were talking about in chat is, how do you have those feelings actually work as a positive for you?
That's a very good question again, because this can have really two sides. You can use these hate, fear, pain to fuel your good performance, but you can also use this to fuel your bad performance, because it's contradictory. When we arrive to trading, we have to make a ton of things to perform well that we are not used to in our past lives and in other skills. We can't, for example, trade hard in an attempt to work hard. This is just one of them. And if you don't have a clear picture of, I need time, and one trade, or the result of one trade means nothing, and I can't control the market. If you don't have this established in the back of your mind, you're gonna try to rush and to overtrade and to do all these mistakes that, just to quickly arrive to or quickly get out of the situation you are, like distance yourself the more you can from it. And so this really has two sides. And maybe for the beginner trying to get out of his 9 to 5 job, this is gonna be a bad fuel, because he wants to overtrade just to get out of the job and all feeding all these bad habits. But with experience, you realize that it's not really that way, and you start to see this fear and this hate as a healthier way. Like, I need to perform well, but at the same time, it takes time. And yeah, there's really these two sides. And now for the bad side, it's a big conversation.
Yeah. Two things I want to end on today's conversation with is, one of them is health, right? I think that we're talking about mental health here. I think this is also something that has become obviously much more popular over the past several years. I would say when I was growing up, nobody really even talked about mental health. I mean, very few people did, right? Especially traders. I came from the pit, so there was almost nobody in there talking about mental health, physical health for that matter either. It was a totally different time, but now it is an important part of being a trader who has sustained success, because I don't believe that you can sustain success as a trader without good mental health and physical health. This goes for everything, right? But I think
Yeah.
trading really, really, this is so important to have both, because subconsciously, if you're worried about your health, or if you're worried about your physical or mental health, it is just going to distract you. And like you said before, those subconscious things that you have from your childhood or whatever, they come in front and center when you're trading, and it's just very difficult to do. So how much, I guess I want to leave everybody with like actionable things to do. We talked about journaling, and some of the things I think a lot of people know, and we understand that, but what are some things that you do in your daily life actually that help you just with your overall mental and physical health?
Well, there's one specific thing that, well, fortunately, I don't have any health problems so far. But one thing that really helped me with my mental health is, as much as you want to avoid it, is meditation. And I started meditating, and it was nothing for me. I mean, I don't see a big change, but I started to understand that the change is not immediate, and the change happens in the background. Like in some situations that you get triggered and that you used to have an anger response or frustration, you're gonna start to notice that this distance that we were talking about between yourself and emotions, it's easier to put this distance. It's easier to see emotions from far away. And this is mindfulness. And I mean, there is a lot of ways to achieve this mindfulness in life. I used to say that it's not only through meditation. You can meditate doing everything you have to do. You can be reading an article, reading a book, and you can be mindful. You can in the zone. You can be washing your dishes at home. You are mindful just by noticing the present moment, being present in the moment, and paying attention to the details of the task itself. This is a trick. And so if you guys, for example, want to meditate, a very good technique, it's focusing on things that are happening in the present. For example, your breathing, your body. So this is something that truly, really helped me. And it's funny because every time I try to distance from this routine, which is my meditation, I notice that slowly my bad habits and my bad responses, emotional responses, start to happen again, start to appear in my life and in my trading. Like I get angry faster, and I can't manage my emotions so easily. So meditation is truly one of them. The other one, I would say personal journal, nothing related with trading, just with yourself, having a routine that helps you. And I'm running a little bit away about the mental health, but I think it's correlated because it's not only about health issues really, but writing things down, as we were talking about, helps you release a lot of the emotional charge you have in your mind, and it makes it more lighter. And when you do this, a lot of your health problems, it helps a lot of your health problems that you might have, even the most serious ones, it's they get they don't get solved, but it helps them, it helps to be healed. So there's a clear connection between mental and physical health, and I believe that if you can keep your mind healthy, that's gonna be easier for your physical body also, in terms of like diseases and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a direct connection to the two of them. And I think that breath is so underrated. It's the easiest thing you can do. It's You don't need to be physically fit to do it, right? You don't need to have any sort of you don't need to be any sort of athlete or anything. You could just sit there and breathe. And it's amazing how much more in control you are. I breathe before I come to interviews like with you. And if you guys are watching this on Twitter or YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. I want more people to hear from Sara because she's fantastic. So
Thank
be
you.
sure to share it. But I think that just breath is such an important part because for me, I'm somebody who suffers from anxiety. I'm somebody who can get amped up. I get amped up real easy, right? I'm an intense person. It may not seem like that to some people, but it's because I will try to work that back. So I don't need something to be amped up. I need something to calm me down. And breath works so well because, like you said, at this point, the only thing you're thinking about, if you're just thinking about your breaths, even if it's 5 breaths, 10 breaths, and you just take that little bit of time, it's amazing how much more focused you are and how much more clarity you have. And that is the path to successful trading.
100%. But not all the traders like to hear this.
No, they
Why?
don't.
Because they don't like meditation, because they get this idea that I am not a meditation person, and I'm not the type of person, my personality and this and that, they don't fit with meditation. But there's a problem with my generation, more with my generation, which is we are facing a concentration issue, and we
Totally.
can't get too long in a one same task, like fully focused, fully in the zone, because the zone is not only for trading, it's for everything you do, right? And we only can give our full potential to the task when we achieve the zone. But nowadays everything is like catching our attention, like everything is fighting for our attention, and it's all about these dopamine shots. And so it's difficult for us to, really for everybody, but I think my generation now with these reels, TikTok and everything, it gets even harder because everything is made for you to feed this lack of concentration, not the opposite. And so when you try to go against it, it gets really hard. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't be sitting here breathing. It's so boring. Everything is boring. No,
You
the
need
things aren't
constant.
boring. Working you're just working on the wrong stuff. If you would have better habits, and we really would want to counter this natural thing of wanting this pleasure, dopamine shots, you would. It's a big difference. It's a big difference when you get this habit. It's a total different reality.
It's amazing how people nowadays, and I'm totally admitting that this is an issue I have too, is that we have a phone addiction, right? We have an addiction of constant, you know, need to, I don't even know the exact word I'm looking for, but we need constant action. We need something in front of us constantly, right? It's hard for me, go on a walk. I'm so busy these days doing a bunch of stuff. I go on a walk with my dogs, and it's like I'm all of a sudden I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, yo man, snap out of it. What are you doing? And I go through phases, and I'm sure all of us do, but that's what breath brings us back in. Breath brings us back in because then you start to realize, you actually look and see. I think animals are huge for me. I don't know. Do you have any pets or anything?
I did had, but I had a dog. It died at 14 years old, and then
Uh,
since there, I didn't have any more
it's
pets. I
too much.
want to, but it's
Yeah.
difficult in an apartment also. So we'll
But when you
see.
had your dog, it's like when you're with them and you look at the way that they look at life. And I love my dogs so much, right? So you look at how they just enjoy life, how much joy they
Yeah,
can find out of
present
a
moment.
toy, present moment. And it's just, to me, that's why I think pets are such an important thing. But I'm going to take this last question. I've got a lot of comments on there. People saying, love Sara. Actually, I should be able to show these. And there they go. Okay, so there we go. Follow your advice on Twitter, Sara. This is Jingle talking about my NASDAQ position. A lot of different comments. Now like I said,
Thank
this
you,
is,
guys.
yeah. So what I want to go to is this question, and then we'll kind of leave on this question for today, because I think it's actually a really good one, and I think it kind of ties everything in today with how you become better with trading psychology. Right? Had 2 losses today, and did not try to win it back. 1 loss, I'm fine. 2, not so much, but I want to improve that, get more at ease with losing because I will take more trades eventually. Advice from Sara.
Let me read it again. At 2 losses today. Did not try to win it back. 1 loss, I'm fine too much. But I want to improve that, get more at ease with losing, because I will take more trades eventually. Advice. Well, Kenna, advice for you is that nobody will reach perfection, not even the most successful trader. Perfection is like, it doesn't exist in trading. And if you were able to have 2 losses and you were able to correct this urge of trying to win it back, that is a good performance. And if you're fine, if you're at peace, that is a good performance. And so if you start to judge your trading through your performance and not through your results, you're going to feel instant relief, because when you focus on the results to judge your trading, you're really trying to control something you can't. You only can control the actions that lead you to those results. When you focus on performance instead, and okay, did I had a good performance today? Yes. So what about the results? Were I able to cut the loss small with my good performance? Yes. So what's wrong? There's nothing wrong. The result of one day, it's really a tunnel vision, because we are trading here. For example, I don't know for how long do you trade, but if you trade for 1 year, that one day, it's only, or one trade, it doesn't make for the statistical side. So if you had a good performance, I mean, that's all that matters, I would say, because I will take more trades even. Yeah, focus on the performance and really judge it, and make routines around the performance, judging the performance.
Well, Sarah, it was a treat to be able to get a chance to meet with you and speak with you. Like I said, I've been following you for years on Twitter, and this is actually the first time you and I have ever even spoken. We only chatted recently on Twitter, so I'm not new to you. But now that I got a chance to meet you and talk to you, I like your stuff even more. I mean, such a good person. I could tell you care about people, and obviously have helped a lot of people because people were talking about you today in the chat about your book and everything like that. So tell everybody that doesn't know you where they can go to learn more about you on Twitter, your website, and go from there.
Well, thank you so much, Anthony. First of all, and they can go to theperceptivetrader.com. So that's my website. They can also send me a message on Twitter, but if you send me a message through my website, I'm more reachable there because I get an email. And yeah, that's it.
Well, yeah, obviously, everybody, if you follow her on Twitter, I put her Twitter handle obviously out on my channel. And thank you guys for the questions and the comments today. This was so much fun. I look forward to doing it again, and maybe we meet in person sometime. I need to come over to Europe though, or if you ever come to the States, we'll hang out.
Thank you so much, Anthony. It was really a really good chat. The really right questions. You are good at this. So yeah, I really enjoyed it also. And yeah, looking forward for the next event.
Yeah, definitely. All right, everybody. Thank you again so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you share Sarah's stuff on YouTube or Twitter. Like I said, the first time we're actually streaming on Twitter, which is really cool. And Sarah's been such a sport because I had to cancel yesterday and come back today. I told everybody I had a bad hair day, kind of a joke. Had some internet problems down here in Florida. But once again, it was such a treat to meet you, Sarah. And everybody, thank you so much. I'm out. I'll see you guys next week. See ya. Thank you for listening to Futures Radio Show. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Never miss an episode. Go to anthonycrudele.com and get on our email list for show notifications and for free content that is exclusively for subscribers. Also on anthonycrudele.com, you will find tons of videos and education on trading futures, options, and crypto. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Opinions expressed are solely my own and my guests, and they do not express the views or opinions of my sponsors. Futures Radio Show is produced by Crudele Productions.